Yes, yes. Welcome. Are you coming all the way from Birmingham?
I came this morning, sir.
This morning, I see. And you mean to stay here the night?
Yes, sir.
Stay over where?
In Knoxville.
I see.
I put a file in Reading.
Right.
Hazur, Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome.
Hazur's guidance is required about principles which should be borne in mind about the interpretation of dreams.
That is one of those questions which you call short questions with very long answers. Isn't it? Hazrat Masih Maud has written so much on dreams in every respect that you will remain very poorer off if you do not read all that has been written by Hazrat Masih Maud in Haqiqatul Wahi, in many other books, in Shahadatul Quran, in other places. He has quoted many dreams, he has mentioned the phenomena, he has warned us of the pitfalls and told us the ways and means to judge our dreams, how far they are messages from Allah, how far they can be treated safely as messages from Allah, how far they should be treated as your own wishful thinking. And again, even if they come true, whether they are a sign of your piety or just a phenomena happening which happens generally from Allah to all mankind, regardless of whether that person is pious or not, just to give him a hint of the presence of God. So this is a very vast subject, and it's not possible for me to address it in such a short time as available during such sessions. But in short, I think, because you raised the question, I should like to say a few things on this. The most important thing is that the dreams which are from Allah have a special language and a message which many often cannot be understood by the person who sees the dream. And it is something beyond his imagination. It is not like a dream that a girl will be born to you or a boy will be born to you. It has a different character in its language, which is cryptic, of course. Now, by the way, when people say a girl will be born to somebody I have seen in a dream, if a boy is born, they always say, see, my dream has come true. Because whenever you see a girl, it is a boy. And when a girl is born, they say, see, girl is born, I told you. So this is just making mockery of dreams. Ahmadis should be more serious-minded about it, because this is a science, it is not a joke. So, first of all, behave in a more sensible and responsible manner when you discuss dreams. Secondly, you should try to understand the language, and whenever one sees such a dream which has a special language, he is the best judge, because he knows it is different from other dreams. He has a very strong impact on his person, and then he goes to others and searches for such person who would understand the message. The illustration, the best illustration in fact of this type has been given in the Holy Quran in Surah Yusuf. Twice. Once, the dream of Hazrat Yusuf ﷺ, who was going to be the greatest interpreter of dreams of his time. Yet he could not understand his own dream. so innocently, he asked his father about that dream, that it was the father who had to warn him, look here, don't mention it to your brothers or you will have it. They may do harm to you because they will know. So the interpreter, the one who was to be made interpreter of dreams, was so innocent that there was nothing wishfulness in him. Because if he had been of a wishful nature, he should have immediately understood the meaning of that dream. Would have become so obvious to him, but he was so humble, so detached, that it was perplexing to him. He thought it could not happen. So a true interpreter of the dream must have a detached personality. But anyway, that is the first lesson which we draw from dreams of signs, carrying some certain sign language. Later on, the same person is made one of the greatest interpreters of dream. And after Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, perhaps the greatest, because no other prophet is mentioned as a specialist in that. So when Pharaoh sees a dream, that dream is not only strange looking, but he knows, as none else does, that this is a message, this is a cryptic language, and despite the fact that the best available scholars of his time pooh-poohed the dream and rejected it as just a fishful thinking or something which has happened to you, maybe a visitation from a bad soul or something, he did not accept that view. It kept bothering him, and when somebody suggested to him there was somebody in a prison who knows the art of interpreting dreams, he was immediately sent for. And that was Hazrat Yusuf. So the way he interpreted was so beautifully fitted with the story, with the language, that everyone who heard must have got convinced immediately. Because when the interpretation is correct, it just clicks in. Like a key of the right key of a lock, it works and you know that this is going to work the moment you move it. The very style of the movement, the very flow will tell you that this is the right key. So the interpretation has to fit in. It should not be just surmising and searching out for this and that. A clear positive dream has a clear positive answer. That must be remembered. But there are other dreams which are intermixed. Because the quality of the person who sees the dream also has a very important role to play in the language of dreams. And the umniya, according to the terminology of the Holy Quran, of a person plays a very important role. Sometimes a dream is not entirely a clear-cut message, but part of it is from wishful thinking, part of it is from the psychological fears, and the part of it is also a message. So when the internal machinery is motivated by some angels to give a message of God, those people who do not entirely belong to Allah, they have other factors come into force. And they begin to interfere with the phenomena of dream and add certain things here and there. So it becomes a complex phenomena. Such dreams would not have, of course, a very clear-cut message. There are many possibilities then which arise. Either perhaps this is the case or that is the case, and that can only be interpreted by those who are given the knowledge by Allah to interpret the dream, or who are of a nature clearly, of a clear-minded nature, unbiased and detached from their wishful thinking, etc. Generally these people are better judges of dreams. And thirdly, this must be borne in mind, that if somebody's dream has come true, he should not become proud of it. That is very important. Because sometimes, as Masih Maud has mentioned, even prostitutes see dreams which come true. And that phenomena springs from Allah's being Rahman. Because the Holy Quran tells us that His attribute of Rahmaniyat is so all-consuming, comprehensive, that it leaves nothing out. In the worldly provisions as well as in the spiritual provisions, sometimes He shows His Rahmaniyat regardless of the person's own views. Even those who call bad names who call Allah bad names, even they are sometimes shown a good dream, correct dream. That is the phenomena, according to Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, which is a sprinkling of the evidence of the existence of Allah. It happens here and there, not only in the religious communities, because otherwise the non-religious communities would say this is something happens to you, it is a psychological case, because you are religious, so you keep on thinking in these terms. Even your mad people have such dreams. But these things happen with even such people who are totally committed atheists. Even in Russia today, such dreams are being shown. And the parapsychologists tend to believe that it is an inbuilt phenomena which have nothing to do with the existence of God, while it's impossible for it to be called an inbuilt phenomena, because the factors which happen in future are so many that it simply cannot be related to a phenomena of natural happenings. For instance, one of the ladies, her name is perhaps Wonga, I don't know how it's pronounced, but the state, Eastern European state where Aftab Sahib was an ambassador once. No, the other one. No, the third one. No, Bulgaria. She belongs to Bulgaria. Now this lady attracted so much attention that according to some writers, the Russians sent their team of investigators, including physicists, chemists, and other investigators, and who collected some data. And everybody was surprised to find out that lady Wonga could predict things, and those things happened exactly as she had predicted, and nobody could change it. Two very interesting incidents, which if right, because that I have read in the book ESP, written by some German scholars, but I cannot vouch for the correctness of these events. But these events have also been mentioned elsewhere in many other writings of other parapsychologists. But they are very strange if they happened. It is said that somebody once walked into Wonga's house and she predicted that a child would be born to you, and when she would be 2.5 years, one of your neighbors who is like this, he would murder that child. Now this was noted down by her, and this was also noted down by some investigators. And then they forgot, took things easily, and exactly after 2.5 years, that little child was murdered. And because it was noted down, the police went first to the person which was described, and he admitted the murder, and he actually had murdered. Similarly, an accident was predicted after a year or so, and in exactly the same situation, at exactly the same time, that accident took place. Now, no scientific explanation can be given or has ever been given. Although they think not in the terms of God, but in terms of something they don't understand. But the fact is that the factors which go towards all these two incidents, making of these two accidents or incidents, they are so many and so diverse that it is impossible for any mind to conceive of all these factors and put them into computer and come out with exactly the manner of death and the date and the point where somebody would meet with an accident and another car would be coming from another direction and all this. This is just impossible. Now, they claimed that it just happened to Wonga. I didn't believe that. I thought they were suppressing some relevant evidence because they are atheists and they don't want to speak of anything which would lead people to religion. So I made further investigation, and to my ultimate joy, I found a reference to how Wonga herself explained this phenomenon. She said that I met with a very tragic accident in my early life, which turned me against the worldly pursuits, and she also was blind, became blind. And she was just disgusted with the world. Then one day a voice spoke to her, and that voice told her of some things which happened like that. So it is not her intuition which tells her, it is always a sort of a voice which she hears which tells her that this is going to happen. Now this part of the evidence is suppressed by these parapsychologists because they want to turn it into a branch of parapsychology which is called precognition or something, foretelling of events through your internal machinery. No, that is the general name. It is a precognition. No. There is a particular term. It's not just any English word, but it's still a regular term for this. You know, like psychokinesis, it's a term under ESP, which means through the power of mind you can move things. And psychotherapy, which means you can heal patients through the power of mind. And similarly, telepathy. These are all terminologies. And so it is precognition, I think it is precognition perhaps, which is the word for that, to know something before it happens. Now I made further investigations now on the topic of dreams I'm telling you, and I came to discover some very interesting phenomena of which I spoke when I visited the University of Duke at Durham in the Department of Parapsychology. I told them that there is a very distinct line separating the religious phenomena from the materialistic phenomena. Although we believe it originates from Allah, but with no love from Allah for such people, it is just a phenomena which He has, shown or exhibited here and there in the world as specimens. But with the religious phenomena, when you are foretold of some ugly event, by certain means, prayers and things, you can avert it. But in the irreligious phenomena, it cannot be averted. So in all such cases which have been reported in parapsychology, none could be averted despite the warnings. It was so strongly positive that human beings could not change that fate. But in case of religious warnings of dreams and things, we know that through prayers and through many other devices of winning Allah's love, we get ultimately that thing averted, and we also see the signs that that thing might have happened. It's not just imagination, but we also get the evidence that it was definitely averted by Allah. It could have happened that way. Now this attempt once was made by a parapsychologist from Czechoslovakia, who has now taken refuge in America. I think he is serving in some university near San Jose, perhaps at San Jose or some university close to it, in California, south of California. Although I tried to meet him during my last visit, but he had gone to Switzerland in those days, so I couldn't meet him. He took refuge in the United States, ran away from Czechoslovakia ultimately, and now he is serving as a professor of psychology or something there. Now he experimented with precognition and tried to avert what was told. That is something very interesting which he relates about his experiences. According to one author, and this is what I wanted to testify, to find out hear from his own lips if that had happened exactly like that, as was quoted by some author. But anyway, some author quotes him as telling of his experience that once one of his pupils, which was a lady, was made to see the future of some other girl who was a fast friend of this lady and who lived in at about a distance of 180 odd miles from this place where the experiment was conducted. And she was sent into a stance and was told to concentrate on that girl. Now she concentrated, and then she saw something so fearful happen that she started crying. And she was under such deep impact of that fearful event that she came out of the stance much earlier, despite the heavy dosing which are given for hypnotism. Much earlier than expected. She was terribly horrified and she was trembling. So she told the professor that what I saw was that my friend was sitting in a restaurant, a boy on a motor bicycle was going in her direction. Then he parked the motor bicycle outside and went in, and from his face I knew he was a vicious man, and he was a nasty man with evil thoughts. So I wanted to warn her, but I could not. I tried to speak and I could not. I was helpless. Then I saw him approach the table where she was sitting, and he told her that he has brought a message from her girlfriend who is waiting for her at some place, and he wants to carry her to that place because he happens to be his mutual friend. Now this, she knew, was totally false. And but the innocent girl, not suspecting anything, she started walking out with her, sat on the bicycle, motorcycle, and then halfway in some place which was deserted, he assaulted her in such a beastly manner that was the moment when she came out of the stance because of this very terrible experience. Now, they immediately started trying to contact that lady and warn her against this. But somehow the lines didn't work, or some other things happened, and they failed to establish the contact until next morning. And when they made the contact, she told it has already happened. And that lady was sobbing, and between her sobs and crying, she told her something terrible has happened to me, and what you are describing, in fact, has exactly happened in the manner you have seen. So this is the helplessness of this worldly phenomena. Even if you see it, you cannot avoid it. But through the very large and wide-scale experience of Ahmadis, we know that when we are warned by Allah, if we improve our conduct, if we attract Allah's mercy and love, and also pay some alms and pray to Him, such events are averted. So I told them, and everybody was surprised at this fine distinction. In fact, the professor there, now this was mentioned, I think, in the Parapsychological Institute, which is independent of the university. And the professor there, I remember, after my short address, got up and told that he has had a long experience, but never in his life he had heard such a thrilling address. And then he got my address noted down and wanted me to be a member, and wanted to find out my qualifications and things. So I said, I am not even a graduate, please forget me. I can't be a member of a parapsychological institution where you have so many MDs and PhDs and all that. But still he was very modest about it. He said he should welcome me anytime I come. He should like me to address them again and so on. But this was my religious experience which impressed him, not the worldly knowledge at all. And that is what was lacking as far as they are concerned. I quoted from Hazrat Masih Maud books. I had them translated. You were there also. Was it Yahya who prepared that for us? Yahya. Isa Harun. Yahya is in Karachi. It was Isa Harun. So he had them, these articles copied in some number, so I carried them with me and distributed some there. And everybody was absolutely surprised at the Ahmadiyya concept of parapsychology and how it is related to religious concepts. So that is enough about dreams for tonight, right? And no time for Salim anymore. Tomorrow inshallah, right? Say the azan.